This morning here on OTB AM. Let's join David Meyler to talk about a remarkable win for Liverpool last night and some remarkable stuff that happened afterwards. First off, Bobby Firmino, one of your favourite players.
Yeah.
That's why he's there.
Oh, it was a beautiful header, wasn't it? You have to give him credit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the celebration.
Yeah, and you know what? It was nice. It was nice to see fans obviously back at Anfield, and that's all. With them there, it was kind of, you almost see him peel away after he hits it in, and he's kind of thinking, I'm going to go off and do my celebration. And then he kind of there's fans here, and he just sprints. So it was lovely to see. But it almost felt that, Liverpool have been knocking on the door the last 10, 15 minutes and weren't going to, score. And then this, obviously Andy Robertson whips in the corner, and then boom, he just gets up. I think it's Toby Alderweireld's marking him. He manages to lose him, gets a yard, and it's just a bullet of a header. It was just a very good header, very good goal, and fully deserved. I know Mourinho came out after and said, that he'd said to Klopp, the better team lost, but look, he's going to say that, isn't he? He's going to back his own side. He's going to back his own team.
It must be great as a manager as well. You can spend the whole week working on shape and trying to create space and making sure that the right people have the ball in the right areas and that you match up really well against the opposition. And then, it's a corner, old school corner, header from the 6-yard box. Thanks very much. Boom. Football is still football.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the commentator said during the game, just after that goal, that Tottenham had conceded the least amount of goals from corners. So obviously it'd be something that Mourinho prides himself on. And look, he can say that the better team lost. Okay, Tottenham did have some very good chances second half. Certainly the way they played in the first half, they were had 11 behind the ball, weren't coming out. Just saying to Liverpool, break us down. And you kind of seen over the past few weeks, whenever Tottenham have played, one of the so-called top 6 clubs, they have kind of been a bit more reserved and managed to catch them on the counter attack. You look at prime example is the goal Heung-min Son scores. But certainly, I think if anyone looked at that with an open mind, you definitely think that Liverpool were the better team. Okay, I get it. Stephen Bergwijn had a great chance. If that goes in, and Tottenham do go 2-1 up, then it does become a totally different game. But look, at the end of the day, I think Liverpool were far better than them. And they showed, how dominant they are in the Premier League this year.
That's kind of the danger of how Spurs play, is that when you break, you almost need to take every chance you get, and they've been doing that in recent weeks. Is that basically it now for Jose over the next few weeks, is to try and get back to that level where they are taking all their chances, or is there a tweak that you can see to allow them to create more opportunities, to allow them to be sloppy with a couple of opportunities?
Well, I think the big thing was, he changed his formation. That was the big thing. They usually play that kind of 4-3-3, system or whatever, and then they switch to a 4-4-1-1. You could kind of see what he was doing to kind of keep the two strikers together. Obviously stop, Liverpool's fullbacks, bombing forward. They did manage to nullify them in the first half. They're kind of, I won't say they struggled, but they found it difficult. They weren't getting as much joy as they would have liked. Like a lot of the ball Liverpool had was with, the young boy Williams, Fabinho and Henderson kind of just knocking the ball from side to side, kind of looking for that, way through. Certainly in the second half, they kind of, switched back. You could see Sissoko and Lo Celso switched around, and they kind of took the game more to Liverpool, and that's when they started to create chances. But the thing I would have taken from Tottenham last night, if you kind of exclude the first 45 minutes, was they, in the second half, they did go toe-to-toe with Liverpool, and it made me realise, Mourinho definitely has his mojo back, and he definitely, there was all the mind games, leading up to the game, even after the game. There is a buzz back with Mourinho, and I think the one thing Jurgen Klopp would have taken away, Tottenham aren't going anywhere. I think they're going to be there for the duration of the season, albeit, if they can keep the front two, obviously that's Son and Kane, if they can keep them fit for the majority of the season, then they're certainly going to be, up around there. If Liverpool keep going the way they're going, I can't see anybody, beating Liverpool to winning the Premier League. But Tottenham are certainly going to be up there.
That's a dangerous situation for everybody now, isn't it? That 3-point gap has been opened, and it seems like the first time Liverpool have started to edge forward a little bit. Do you believe now that Liverpool are just going to get better and better because they've sort of rode out this storm a little bit in terms of fitness, in terms of injuries, and now other teams are inevitably going to have to go through the same thing because of the fixtures pile up?
Yeah, of course. Like, when you lose Virgil van Dijk, there's always going to be that big question mark over your team. Of course, he was a massive loss. And then, they've kind of had to chop and change between different centre-halves playing. But then, like, Fabinho, who's just now slotted back in there, and it's almost become, normality. They don't miss Virgil van Dijk, which is such a strange thing considering he's one of the best centre-halves in the world. But they are just a machine in the way they turn in performances week in, week out, and they just manage to get results. And of course, look, when you've got the front three that they have, you give yourself chances of winning football matches. And of course, the midfield, the energy they bring, it's just remarkable to watch. Like, and people will say I'm biased because I support Liverpool, but if you're an open-minded football fan, then you have to be impressed with the way they go after. Like, last night, at times when Tottenham were winning the ball back, they had nowhere to go. Yeah, they were deep, in a low block in their own half. They couldn't get out, but the way Liverpool pressed them and go after them, it's just remarkable. And to think that Liverpool now, in their last 33 Premier League games at home at Anfield, they've won 32 of them. So they just, if you were to weigh it up points wise, to think like of all the games that they've got left playing at home, they'll probably end up winning probably 95% of them. Then you can't see anybody get near Liverpool. And as you said, a gap has now been opened. Jurgen will certainly, at this Christmas period, look towards January, the kind of, the almost FA Cup third round when that comes the first week of January, that they'll be looking to maintain that gap and even increase it. Yeah.
Just on the midfield that was sent out there by Mourinho last night, Kenny Cunningham on Premier Sports was making the point at halftime that he got it wrong, that Sissoko on the right was a really poor tactical move by Jose Mourinho, and that ultimately that's why we saw such a good performance from someone like Curtis Jones last night. So with your midfielders hat on, would you have been happy to come up against that Spurs midfield in the way it was set up last night?
I do get where Kenny is coming from. Obviously, when you have, like, Højbjerg is going to sit in front of the back four, he's not really going to come out of there. Then you're kind of looking at someone like Lo Celso to go and press, and I don't think that's his playing style. He's more of a midfielder who wants to kind of get in the ball, which we've seen for the assist for Son, someone who wants to get on the ball and make stuff happen. I think the big thing was they wanted to stop the fullbacks. That's why he's put more like Sissoko out on the right side. If you looked at, like, a lot of stuff that comes through Liverpool has come through Andy Robertson this season, and I think that's why he deployed him out there to kind of nullify the wing area. So he was. But when you go and try and stop their fullbacks, you have to leave space somewhere, and the space did end up coming through the middle. And look, that young boy Curtis Jones has come on leaps and bounds. The level of performances he's putting in for a 19-year-old is remarkable. He looks like he has a real bright future, and it was almost, the way I would look at it is almost Mourinho's weighed it up with when they've done their tactics during the week and said, like, can we stop the fullbacks, and can we avoid? We give up space in the middle and hope that those players don't have the same level of creativity as the fullbacks would have.
And that might have worked, except Curtis Jones does have that level of creativity.
Exactly. And then you're just kind of hoping, I imagine he's hoping that, someone like Højbjerg and Lo Celso are going to get close to him, thinking he's a young kid, he's 19. Can Højbjerg get in and around him, upset him, throw him off his game? But the young fella just keeps rising and rising. And look, he just has a great ability to kind of hold on to the ball, and the way he maneuvers it, and passes and links the play. Like his link-up play that impressed me most last night was with Mane. How they give the ball to one another, they lend it. There's the little 1-2s, there's a little movement off the ball. And he certainly does have the creativity, and he's a massive plus this season for Liverpool. So
just explain a bit to us about where he plays and what his role will be in the team over the next while. Let's say he gets a run of 10 games here. How would you describe him, and who do you compare him to?
Oh, wow. It's always hard to try and compare players, but look, he's going to play, the way that they're kind of shaping is Henderson will sit, and they'll have Wijnaldum and Curtis in front of them. Obviously, they'll be waiting for Thiago to come back, that then becomes the problem. Does Thiago go in and do they push Henderson forward? But if Curtis Jones keeps playing the way he is, then look, you have to stay in the team. What he's looking to do is obviously be the link man between, defence, midfield and the forward line to try and get on the ball and make stuff happen. You can see when he kind of picks it up in those areas, he's well able to dribble in tight areas. He can pick a pass, and then the thing is he's now bringing that level of, pressing, the kind of what Jurgen is famous for bringing to this team, that when the midfielders go after players, he's certainly one of them now that's looking to, probably when I first watched him, it wasn't part of his game, that level of, high pressing that we're used to from the Liverpool midfield, but he's added that to his armoury, and he does look like he's well able to do it for the 90 minutes. And when he gets in those areas, I think he plays with kind of a freedom. There's a touch of arrogance about him. There was even a couple of, stages last night when, it was 1-1, there was a little flick round the corner, there's a little drag back and flick to Robertson. If you're a Liverpool fan, you're watching on, like, the form he's in, the best way to put it for me would be the form he's in. There will be a case for him, if he continues this through the season, that he could, make the England Euro side. Definitely.
And I think there's also a bit of a versatility around him. Like when Jota was in the team, certainly for the first few games, Klopp was playing a 4-2-3-1 quite a bit. It does seem like Curtis Jones can almost slip into that number 10 role in that 4-2-3-1 as well, just judging by his particular set of attributes.
No, definitely. Look, the hardest thing is when you have a player who's playing, say, as an 8 or a 10, they have to be creative. They have to be able to, pick a pass. They have to be able to do something special almost, because that's what that player's there for. Usually they're the most creative player in the team. And it's just, he has that ability. He showed it time and time again. And even then, if you look at the goals he has scored for Liverpool, he does manage to score goals as well. And if you can get a midfielder who's going to, turn out, I would say 10 goals a season, that is huge. And he has scored some big goals and he's getting himself there. So I think Jurgen's got a bright player on his hands.
How do you see the next little while going, David, in terms of this title race? You mentioned there that Liverpool will look to get to the FA Cup weekend and hopefully maybe batten down the hatches a little bit, give a few new players a bit of game time, give a few players a bit of rest. Are they going to be further clear come that weekend?
For me, like the comparison in, playing the first half performance last night for Liverpool, and then you look at the Fulham one. I think the Fulham one was really a wake-up call from, like, as in, like, you saw some of the players after in their interviews, they said they weren't at it. And I think it was kind of a wake-up call that, come on, like, I think the success that they've had in the Premier League and certainly the Champions League the year before, this team is really hungry for success and they want to win multiple Premier Leagues and they're chasing everything. So you can just see them, keep going whenever they play a game. You'll obviously hear them say in their interviews that the next game is the most important game. So I just expect them to keep, turning out results, keep getting wins. And then it's just basically up to the other side, whether it be Tottenham, Leicester, Southampton, Chelsea, Man City, of course, aren't doing very well. But it's up to them then to catch them. And I just think Liverpool are going to keep winning. It's up to the rest of them. Are they going to be able to mount a challenge to them? I think it's more a case of that. Are those teams going to be able to keep up with Liverpool?
And their hopes for the next Anfield game will be in the hands of Big Sam. He's back in the Premier League. He'll be taking West Brom to Anfield. From your own experience, what is it like playing against the Sam Allardyce team?
Look, Big Sam is renowned for the football he plays. People kind of say it's boring, but Sam Allardyce knows how to get results. He's a veteran in the Premier League. He's been around a long time. He's never been relegated. So obviously they always set up to play those long balls, even if there's almost if a ball goes long to one of your strikers and there's a foul and the centre half has it. They put the ball down the halfway line. They send men up and they say, right, we're just going to lump it long into your box. It's almost, he turns it, in my opinion, he almost turns it into like a rugby game where he plays the field and plays areas kind of. They just want the ball as far away from their goal as possible. And of course, every team that he has is a well-drilled, organised back four that don't manage to, concede many goals. So you can imagine him going into West Brom and just kind of like really making them solid that they don't concede as many goals. Obviously, I know that they've been playing kind of the three at the back and whatever. So it'll be interesting to see does he switch from that, because he's obviously more renowned kind of 4-4-2 kind of fella. So it will be interesting to see how he lines them up. But you kind of you're looking at it from the outside. It's kind of for Bilic to get sacked after the result against Man City makes you think that they must have had that decision made before that game, expecting to get beat, and then he kind of gets a result. So it's the cruel world of professional football that, Bilic does get a result, but then Big Sam comes in.
Yeah, and Bilic apparently learned that he was getting sacked in the papers that morning, so it is pretty cruel. David, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
It's David Meyler there giving us some thoughts pre-Christmas. We'll definitely have him on before Christmas, so that's why we're not saying Happy Christmas. Or did we just miss our chance to say Happy Christmas?
You have ho 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 over your shoulder, so I'm sure he got the message. Your other shoulder.
It's the elf on the shelf on that side.